Hi there, this is Tracy Brown, and welcome to my video actually about the power of being able to settle. And so those of you who are in my group, I think you probably know me pretty well and what we're up to here. And I promised a video today to talk about basically a lot of somatic stuff. And I first want to start off with how I got here and why I felt like this is really important. And so in, excuse me, so in 2011, I had been in practice in the different group practices. At the time I was working for a dietitian and a therapist in different separate practices. So I had lots of training and lots of experience of like all different kinds of people and what I was finding worked and what didn't work with different kinds of people and situations and all that. So I had a lot of good laboratory. And I started to notice, so I'd been doing it, it was like, I think I was working on my 5th year. And I started to notice that people, no matter how many food journals we went over and how much I talked about decoding I feel fat and doing some fat positivity work, regardless of body size, is that a lot of clients just really struggled to stay consistent. And I knew that these clients had trauma. They had told me that they had experiences that were too much, not enough support, kind of on their own with things. And some people had tried a lot of different kinds of work to help heal that. Some hadn't. Some had been in residential, some hadn't. But the similarities were really immediate. So when I would be in session with people, there were either this sense of panic. There was a sense of like shutdown and shame, no matter how gentle I could talk. They would come in that way, like kind of shut down and all that. Sometimes there was this like edge, like I'm ready to like just not fight me, but they were there and clearly they wanted help. But there was also this other part that was like, I can't take this in, or mostly like a little bit of defendedness more than anger. But occasionally I would have people like storm out of my office and slam the door. And only because when I would just push just the tiniest bit around maybe the consequences of restricting or purging, and it would be incredibly gentle. Like I don't really ever shame people or fear monger people into going to treatment or doing something. It was really just about a loving but pragmatic, like here we are kind of conversation. And they would storm out. They would come back the next week and maybe have some plans to do something different, but it would cause an outburst. Or just again, the people pleasing would be this continued reminder of like, are you sure that I'm not too much for you? And are you sure this is going to help me? And that. So I started to recognize that something was different, and it wasn't cognitive because they had learned, they'd read all the books. And again, in 2006 to 2011, there weren't a ton of podcasts about these topics. So there was less information, but there were still enough resources, blog posts, stuff like that, that people kind of knew, and they would say like, I know what I need to do. And in fact, I just talked to somebody today, like I've been at this 3 years and I listened to every podcast religiously and I've read all the books and I'm stuck. And so this is really common. And I basically shared with this person today, like, let's start to be, like I said in my post earlier today, like an action taker and a creator rather than just a consumer of information, because information doesn't necessarily make it stick in our bones. And usually what we need is safety. So today I want to talk more about like, that's how I got into this work. I recognized beyond the non-diet, weight inclusive approach, some people really just don't have a platform for feeling safe. And so today's chat is about how I got here, how I learned this stuff. And I'm reading some notes here because I want to make sure I don't forget it and I don't ramble too much. But I want to make sure that we talk to our clients about the power of learning to settle. So that's a tip I'm going to teach you today. And then it'll kind of evolve into what the rest of our little chat will be about. So I don't expect to make this a super long little webinar for you. But so as I was recognizing that there's something different here, like there's something, like there's a split. So I have like this front, like this person who's trying to listen, but sometimes I can feel they're drifting off, or they're so revved up that I don't think anything I'm saying is helping. And in fact, I'm trying to talk more to get them to listen, when in fact, what I needed to do. And this is what I recognized. And what made me go get some more training is that, like, I need clients to match me. And if I'm not regulated and I'm trying too hard, we're going to be doing this dueling, like trying to be really good and helpful to each other and figure it out. But it's going to just be more painful, to be honest, and more frustrating, because they're trying really hard to do the right thing and all the things that we talk about, even in the most gentle way. It's just that it's not touching the system that we need to touch. So anyway, that made me kind of, the first book I read was Waking the Tiger by Peter Levine. And then after that, I kind of went down the Hakomi path, which took me to other SCPs who had specific niches, like trauma resolution and post-traumatic growth. And so different people all over the country that I started working with from 2011 till now. Studying the work of Janina Fisher and Deb Dana, and of course Stephen Porges, and IFS, of course, and putting all this together, like a lot of these brilliant people do. And then, of course, I've been working now for almost 2 years with the Embodied Recovery Institute as well, and cross-referring and working together and training and helping each other, and it's been wonderful. And so I'm sharing all that because a lot of what I would do, the first thing I learned how to do, and this is what I'm wanted to teach you the importance of today, is if our clients can't settle enough to really have their social engagement system on in our sessions, they're not going to miss everything. And in fact, they're probably still going to get something, which is like the consistency of a relationship. They start to learn that, like, you're not doing them any harm, even if the information or the processing or the food changes or the information or whatever's happening, the challenges are eliciting or challenging. They still come because even though something uncomfortable is happening, they're not necessarily in danger. And unconsciously, they're starting to learn that, even though maybe they're not making much food or body image progress, let's say. And so the first thing I started to learn is that I need to help these clients settle. And so instead of me trying to do techniques, the first thing, and this is what I'm teaching you today, is the first thing we have to do is learn how to settle ourselves. So you might notice a lot that I have pillows behind me. I do that to keep contact, because I know that this is something, and I'm just going to go ahead and announce what I'm talking about today, is that on January 30th, 2020, so in a couple weeks, actually about 10 days, 20 days, so about less than 3 weeks, I'm opening the doors officially today to my somatic nutrition counseling skills training. And so that's going to be a mix of didactic information. And I'm going to talk about some more skills here in a second, so please hang tight. If you're bouncing off because you're not interested in training, it's fine. Stay with it though, because I want you to hear what it's about, and then the tool I'm going to talk to you about in like 5 minutes. And so, so that training is going to have an hour to 2 hours of didactic information. So each week is going to have a new topic. So teaching about polyvagal theory, the window tolerance, tracking skills, which we're going to talk about today, and meal sessions from a polyvagal lens versus just like eating food with somebody, but really knowing what you're trying to do to help people stay in their bodies as they're trying to eat. And so the goals are different for those kind of sessions. And we're going to talk about that and how to set it up and how to do it and how much time I allow for it, those kind of things. And I just have a lot of tools, a lot of things I've learned, whether it's tracking, eliciting, contacting, titration, using your near and far senses, those kind of things. I'm going to be borrowing from different kinds of models and modalities of doing things, and really, quoting and referencing where these things come from, so you kind of know where it comes from. But most importantly, I wanted to help you teach your clients how you educate them of why it's so important to have a regulated nervous system. And I think it's a game changer for the recovery, bottom line. I want people to be able, if this helps them get better faster, to have access to this information. And you can help feel more confident that you're giving them every tool that you possibly can in your scope of practice. And since 2011, that's kind of changed every year how I practice. And every year I just up level in what through the lens of food and body and movement and health, what I'm able to help them with. One of the biggest things that the somatic work has helped me with is recognizing that when the body doesn't feel safe, it doesn't heal. And so endlessly, like food restricting from food allergy perspective, or I see people like limiting foods because their gut hurts so bad, let's say. But oftentimes, and we all know this from IBS. I mean, stress begets more stomach issue. But a lot of times that if you've got IBS and you're chronically stressed and you can't settle yourself, it's hard to know, like, should I even be messing with the food? Do I really just need to focus on regulation? And 80% of this will go away. And maybe all I need to limit is a short term of one food that's kind of problematic, or at least it's problematic when they're stressed again. And it helps you have more nuance what you're doing in these populations that it's tricky, if not even dangerous, to do food restrictions with. So it's helped me so much of feeling like I have some tools to give to people when I'm really concerned with, like, if I limit their butter or their gluten or whatever, I mean, that's gonna like throw off the normalcy they do have with food. So that's been really important. All right, so I want to talk about settling. And all settling means is like a person can like just arrive here and be at least somewhat in their own skin to fully hear you and take in what's happening. Because if you're in the thing is, when our clients are in a activated response, whether hyperactivation or hypoactivation, fancy words for if they're in sympathetic or if they're in the dorsal part of their nervous system, they're not going to hear you the same. In fact, I don't know if I have these printed out or if I do. Okay, well, sorry guys, I thought I had just something I was going to share with you, but I don't see it. But anyway, maybe it's in this pile. Okay, well, I will show you this. It's not quite the same. All right, this might actually work. This is from some of Deb Dana's work, and I use a lot of her. You know, we've been in. I haven't been able to do some supervision with her. I'm trying to, but she's super busy, so I don't know if that'll happen, but I'm trying. But okay, this doesn't help you show what's happening, but here's something that Deb Dana's called the autonomic ladder, and basically that is when we're down here in dorsal, we're pretty collapsed. You see the person kind of collapsing over. If you're in that body state in collapse, like low and a little bit, it's kind of like someone who's, you know, they're there, but they're not quite there. They're the clients that you might suggest 3 things to maybe focus on. And maybe it's something they say they really want to do, but you're getting the sense of like, I don't think they're going to be able to do it. Not because they're not capable. It's because we're in the state. They might not hear it all, or there might be some like deflation in their system, so it's not connecting in an empowered place to make that decision. Or if they're more in sympathetic, you see how that person here on the ladder, and this is just one way to describe. I do it differently. My handouts in the course are different. I kind of have it more of the Peter Levine style, which is like, you know, up and down in like hyper regulated and hypo kind of style. But anyway, you can see this picture. This person's like off the edge of the ladder, meaning they're like just hanging on. And again, a lot of times when people are really anxious, it's really hard for them to take risks because they're already so on the edge of like, am I safe or not? So to take another food risk might just feel way too risky. They mentally might want to do it, but their body's just not there. So part of settling means that we don't even suggest a lot of food changes until we help their bodies settle, whether that's settle on the chair, on the couch. Maybe you have them do some movement and then come back and try to make some decisions about what would work well for a meal, for a food challenge, for whatever. But your first step is really learning how to track and help your client settle. And so I wanted to offer you a little tip today. It's one of the fastest ways, not fastest, but one of the first things you ought to do and to help your client settle is to do it with your own self. So if you're noticing that you're feeling a little revved up by their anxiety, or not sure you can help them, or You know, I see this a lot of times when people are really kind of pulling at us for like, kind of help me, rescue, save me. You're going to feel yourself, depending on your character strategy, your personality, your experiences. You're going to feel yourself pulled in versus see what that is. And when they're up and you're pulling yourself in to rescue, there's some level of, there's probably been some of that in their history where it's like they had to really kind of get revved up for people to lean in and pay attention. And we want to show them how that people aren't necessarily ignoring them if they're not like getting revved up with them. We're like, oh, with them, but we can sit back and you're like, yeah, I'm noticing a little bit of revved upness around. What are you noticing? And just to make them aware of their state so they can come to you. So that's one little tip I wanted to give to you today, just to play around with that. And that's some of the first things I learned and learned through practice before I had like official training, was just to not get caught up in the story physically, not just in the mental and emotional story, but in what the physiology was saying, because I'm already pretty sure that that's their home note, and I don't want to collude with that. I want to teach people that it's safe to be in a relationship, it's safe to talk about food, regardless of what we do with it, and that it's all about their choice. So if you're really interested and you've been looking for something like this for years, I mean, there was nobody teaching this when I was interested. So I'm more than grateful to share all my hopeful, grateful, excited, encouraged to share all these experiences that I've learned over the last 8 years, you know, in client sessions with my clients, wisdom and strength, all the things I've spent time and energy and money and resources in different trainings and supervision to share with you, to move you a little faster. Again, this is 2020 doing this video. I started this in 2011. That's a long time to kind of be creating a framework that I haven't gotten to share with anybody. So loved for you to join me. So it's going to be January 30th of 2020. That's a Thursday. We'll start our first session that day. So you'll get didactic sessions prior to each session, and then we'll spend a good 75 minutes role playing, practicing the skills that you're going to learn in the didactic part that you read and talk about. You'll be getting some readings. I'm trying to overdo it with the readings. Some readings, but mostly things to watch and listen to, and just let land and sink in and think about how this would apply to yourself, other clients that you've had in the past, and your current clients you have, and then we start practicing. And then, you know, go out and practice some more, and then we come back and talk about it. So it's going to be like this additive process of building. And so I started with the building skills first of knowing polyvagal, and then the second session is learning, for example, and then learning how to teach window tolerance. Once you learn how to teach, you do those things, you teach it to your clients, their life starts to make so much sense to them. And that's what we want to do. This work also teaches a ginormous sense of hope. If clients believe and have hope in you that you can help them, you're going to retain clients, which are more likely, that means to be resourcing yourself financially, but it also means that they stick around to get healing and results. And not because you did something mentally magical, it's just that they learned how to be safe, you know, with another human, maybe for some of the first time in their life. And what a gift to get to be a part of that. That transformation is cool. So we start January 30th. You have until next week, so January 17th, to get on the early bird, and I will put the link to the training below, and also a bonus for people who are interested to get in before the early bird, which is the 17th, is you're going to get 3 months in my non-diet counseling skills supervision community. So we're going to be doing group supervision monthly, twice a month. Bring all things to the table. We're going to bring all of our wisdoms together and help each other out. But so if you get started with that before the 17th, you'll get a 3-month pass in that as well. So that'll be fun to continue on after the course is over. So that supervision group will be starting in spring, probably after the somatic course ends. So, all right. I hope this video was thought-provoking, helpful, makes you curious. If you want to chat with me about how, if this is something for you, if you're interested about it, please, you can private message me or just follow the link below and schedule an appointment, and we can chat about it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great weekend, and bye for now.